guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm really excited to do this video because I have always been watching these videos since I started watching BookTube and I always thought they were so much fun. So I'm excited to be doing one myself. As you can tell from the title, we will be doing the end of year book tag. So I got some questions. I got these questions from Madison Kate here on YouTube. So I will list all the questions down below if you're curious, but I am just going to be doing the exact same questions she asked because I thought that they were the most interesting to me and ones that I feel like I could answer pretty well. So we'll just get into it. We have 20 questions we're going to go over and we're just going to sit and chat and talk about books. I'm going to start with number one, which is the most disappointing read of the year. And I am really sad to even talk about this, but my most disappointing read of the year would probably be Reckless by Lauren Roberts. And I mean, like, it wasn't a bad book, but it was just very underwhelming, especially after the way that Powerless left off. I absolutely loved Powerless. I rated that 5 stars and I loved the ending of that book. Especially. It made me really excited to read the next one. Like, it was good. I love the dialogue. I love the dialogue in her books, but I also feel like dialogue isn't always enough and you can't just have a book filled with like interesting dialogue. It was just very slow and the ending of it was really good, but the majority of the book was very slow and it wasn't even very long of a book. So I was really disappointed by that one. I will still go into her next one, Fearless, with a little bit higher hopes, but I also don't want to get my hopes up just because I was probably the most excited for Reckless this year. I was probably my most anticipated read and it was just really disappointing. So I'm really sad about that one, but I do hope that she kind of has a plan in mind and maybe this is a bridge book. As much as I hate to say that, it feels like kind of like a wasted book, but I don't know. I mean, it was fine. I finished it. I read it pretty quickly. It just wasn't anything exciting and very underwhelming. So number 2, Underdog Book of the Year. I would say the underdog book of the year I read this year was probably Assistant to the Villain. I haven't really heard anything about that book. Anything. The only reason I picked it up is because my friend was telling me about it. But as far as like BookTube and everything, I have not heard a single thing about that book. And I really enjoyed that one. I thought it was so much fun. Like the romance is really fun and cute in there. And the banter of it, like the whole book itself is just really goofy and fun, but still feels high stakes and still feels cozy. Never really heard that talked about this year and I really enjoyed that one and the second one just came out, so I really want to get on to the second one. And maybe I just am on the wrong side of the internet and maybe people are talking about this book but I'm just not seeing it. But honestly, when I read this I was like, why haven't I heard more about this? This book was so much fun and I'm excited to get into the next one next year. The third question is a book you loved in the moment but don't think about now. For that one I'd probably say Funny Story by Emily Henry. That was another release I was really excited about this year and I completely loved reading it. I thought it was so much fun in the moment, but I have not thought about that book since I finished it. And I absolutely loved that, but I thought it was really fun. I love Emily Henry's writing, like you just eat it up. But compared to her other books, I think about her other books all the time and I haven't really thought about Funny Story since I read it, even though I enjoyed it. So it's kind of weird, but I would recommend it, you know, like if someone brought it up or someone's like, oh, have you read this? I would be like, oh yeah, read that. That was so much, like I love that book. That was so much fun. But I just like wouldn't think about it on my own. Okay, number 4, fave book couples of the year. Ooh, this is a good one. I would probably say for sure The 7-Year Slip, Clementine and Ewan. Definitely one of my favorites of the year. I really enjoyed their cute romance. Like their relationship was just so wholesome and sweet. It was so believable. Sometimes when you read books and they're so insta-lovey, you can't really root for them. Even if you enjoy their story, you don't really believe it, but their romance was so believable. I absolutely loved their little story. It was so cute. I'm trying to think of any others that I really enjoyed this year. Oh, okay, yeah. Besides The 7-Year Slip, I'd also say Fate and Blythe from Wisteria. They are absolutely one of my favorite couples too. I absolutely loved that story. And like, I no spoilers or anything, but if you read the book, you know why their romance and their story is just one of the sweetest stories. I don't want to go into too much detail if you haven't read it, but I absolutely love them as a couple and I love just everything that has to do with them. I think they are the absolute sweetest and their story is just so fun. Like I'm literally like tearing up thinking about that story. Like, oh, It's so good. Okay, number 5, a book you can't stop recommending. 7-Year Slip. I have been trying to get everyone to read that. Another one I've been trying to get everyone to read as well is really any Emily Henry book. When I'm recommending books to people, I feel like whenever I do recommend books, it's usually to people who aren't active readers. So I try to give them more lighthearted reads or reads I know they're gonna love. So the 7-Year Slip, Emily Henry, Beach Read, and Happy Place, those are 2 that I really love to recommend to people, especially people who are maybe just getting into reading and want something a little bit more light. I guess I said book you can't stop recommending. I said books. If it was just one singular book, I'd say the 7-Year Slip. Number 6, a book that surprised you. I would probably say Starling House. Starling House was, not that I didn't think I wasn't gonna like it. I definitely, like, based off the aesthetic and vibes alone, I knew I was gonna like it, but what surprised me about it was, I think like I was more surprised by my reading experience. I knew I was gonna like it, I knew I was gonna like the vibes, but as far as what actually went on, how it ended, and the whole experience of it was quite a surprise to me. So yeah, I would definitely say Starling House. Even my friend messaged me after my top 10 favorites video, and she's like, I'm really surprised you put Starling House in your top books. She's like, I didn't realize you liked it that much. And I was like, yeah, that book literally shocked me and I can't stop thinking about it. It has to be up there. So I would definitely say Starling House. Number 7, your new favorite author you discovered in 2024. I feel like a broken record at this point, but Ashley Poston, I really liked her writing in that book. I really want to get to her other ones. Another one I'd say too is Elsie Silver. I am recently discovering Elsie Silver, and I've only read the Wild Love series, but I really want to get into like Flawless and stuff because those are just so much fun. I really enjoyed her writing. And then Callie Hart is another one because I really enjoyed Quicksilver. I know that's her only book out, and it could be just like her like one and done, like that one's amazing, but I don't know. Yeah, I would say Callie Hart, Ashley Poston, and Elsie Silver are probably my top authors that I discovered that I am like really wanting to take with me into the next year and like look for books by those authors. Number 8, your happiest read of the year. Ooh, that's a good one. I keep looking everywhere but the camera because I'm looking at all my books. I don't read happy books. Like I read very sad, like heavy books, or like really high stake fantasy books. I honestly cannot think of a single happy book, like the happiest book of the year. Like I have no idea. I feel like that's one I won't be able to answer. And maybe that's kind of a goal of mine in 2025 is try to find and read happier books. See, it's like even books that had like a happy ending, I don't even want to say they were the happiest books because they had to go through a lot of crap to get there, you know? So like I can't even say like that book was like I want, like when I think of happiest book, I think the whole book is just pure joy. That's gonna be a goal of mine next year. I need to read happier books. Maybe why am I hurting myself with books? Number 9, most frustrating book you read in 2024. I would definitely say Reckless. It's a broken record, but I was frustrated about halfway through that book because I just felt like we were getting nowhere, and it was kind of, especially when that was something to look forward to, that really frustrated me. Oh, I know another one. So I'm in the middle of the Zodiac Academy series and I really enjoy that series, but the first book, The Awakening, was definitely frustrating to me just because of the bullying in that book. Like it would just make me cringe. Like every time I was read something like a scene or how mean they were, like it was frustrating, especially in the moment. So yeah, I would actually say The Awakening is probably the most frustrating book I read this year, and yet I kept going and I'm glad I did. But The Awakening is definitely a frustrating book, and like knowing that it's a big series and that a lot of people like it, like the further you go down, you know you have to read that first book so that you understand. It's frustrating because it just isn't good, and the characters are frustrating, the situations are frustrating. So yeah, The Awakening. Longest book you read this year is probably gonna be Kingdom of Ash. It's like 980 pages. I don't think I read a book longer than that. So yeah, Kingdom of Ash. Shortest book you read this year was probably The Secret Life of A.J. Fickery. That one is really short, or Powerful. How many pages is Powerful? I mean, it's technically a novella, so if we're including novellas, I think Powerful was probably the shortest book I read, and then The Storied Life of A.J. Fickery was probably like the shortest novel I read. A book you haven't stopped thinking about. This is a hard one because I am in the middle of reading Zodiac Academy, and that series has consumed my brain since I started the second one. So I literally cannot stop thinking about Zodiac Academy. And if we're being like a little bit more technical, probably Kingdom of Ash. If I don't think a day has gone by this entire year where I have not thought of Throne of Glass. Like, I feel I could say that with confidence. Like, I have not not thought about Throne of Glass this entire year, and I've probably have even talked about it once a day this year to somebody, or have brought it up, or have included it some way in my life. That series I think will always stick with me as one of my favorite series. So at the moment Zodiac, but as a whole Throne of Glass, and probably forever Throne of Glass. Especially Kingdom of Ash. 14, unpopular book you loved. I'll probably say Quicksilver for this one too, just because the more and more I've been like down the Quicksilver rabbit hole, the more I've been seeing that people think that book is overhyped, and like, yes, maybe, but I still loved it. So I think that's the closest thing I could say that I've read that is probably a little bit unpopular, but I feel like more people like it than they don't. But I like really enjoyed that. Yeah, that's probably the closest one I would say. Some of these are hard. Number 15, what was the highest and lowest rated book you read this year on Goodreads, and do you agree? So this is the only one I actually did do research for before I filmed this. The highest rated book was, no surprise, it was Kingdom of Ash, and 100% do I agree with that rating. It was the highest. I think it was like a 4.5, or I think it might have been higher. Like, now I need to look. Oh my goodness, it sits at an average rating of 4.7. That is the highest rated book I think I have ever seen, and it has 755,000 ratings. So it's not even like there's not that many ratings to go off of, so it just has an average higher rating. No, it has almost 1 million ratings, honestly, and it's a 4.7. So yeah, I 100% agree with that. I honestly think it should be more. Like, I don't know why you wouldn't rate that book 5 stars, but I love that series. It is one of my absolute favorites. And then the lowest rated I read this year was The Fury by Alex Michaelides. Wow, I'm actually shocked. I am actually so shocked. So the average rating for The Fury is a 3.37, and I rated that book a 4.75. So honestly, no, I don't agree with that rating. Do I think it's still a 4.75? No. I think that's just coming off of a thriller book and I got excited, but I would definitely say it's a 3.5 or 4 star. I would probably say 4 star. I do think that was a really good book, and I also just really like Alex Michaelides' writing and his thriller style, and I feel like that one was probably one of my favorites besides Silent Patient. But I really enjoyed The Fury. So no, I do not agree with that rating. That's actually shocking to me that that's the lowest rated on my it's funny though, because now looking at it, it's like all of the thrillers I've read are like on the lower rating, which I mean, I get everyone. I feel like thrillers with everybody is so different because people are expecting to be shocked, and sometimes people are shocked easier than others. So thrillers, I've noticed, are always a little bit more of a diverse rating scale, I guess you could say, just because everyone has different expectations. For me, I have read a lot of thrillers, but I also feel like I'm very, very easily and pleasantly surprised. So I tend to rate thrillers higher than some other people, or some other people I even know, just because, like, to me, I rate books more so as if I enjoy them, if I read them quickly, and yeah, if the ending shocks me, which it usually does, but I really just kind of more so rate the journey. So I rate thrillers a little bit higher. So that's really funny though, that to notice that a lot of these lower rated ones are all the thrillers I read, if not like all of them. So 16, fave quotable book of the year, definitely Kingdom of Ash, and definitely 7 Year Slip. Kingdom of Ash, I feel like, is very quotable just because of how beautiful the writing and the quotes are, and like the moments are in that book. But if we're talking about more relatable quotes, I would say 7 Year Slip, just because a lot of the quotes that I had in that book are a little bit more relatable to life, or my life, or just things that actually happen. Versus like, yeah, the Kingdom of Ash has some beautiful writing and some very intense moments, but it's a little bit less likely to happen or not likely to happen. So yeah, I would say those two and those reasons. Number 17, book with the most unique concept. Again, I would say Sterling House. That one was really, really interesting to me, very unique. I feel like a broken record talking about the same books over and over again. The other one I would say that I have read, Wisteria. That one was interesting, especially like being like more of a fantasy reader and reading a lot of fantasy books, especially this year. I feel like that one was definitely one of the more different reads. Number 18, book you read that you would reread. I mean, all the ones I've mentioned. I feel like 7 Year Slip is the biggest one. 19, book or reading goal reflection and your 2024 reading goal. So my reading goal this year was, I put 60 books. So last year my goal was 50 and I think I read 52. This year I put my goal as 60 and I'm at 56 currently. So I need to read 4 more books by the end of the year, which I think is possible. But I also feel like this was probably one of the most busiest years I've ever had. I do feel like I really pushed myself to be able to read that much this year, just based on the time I had and what I was doing. Next year, I think as far as I feel like next year was gonna be a less busy year for me, so I would like to push myself and maybe do like a 70 book goal. I feel like, because 60 was hard this year. Like, I'm barely making it. I'm actually really excited to see how many books I can read next year being less busy. Last question, after 2024 reading, what are you prioritizing in 2025 reading? This is a great question. I really want to prioritize finishing series. I feel like that's a big one for a lot of readers. You just like, when you see so many books and so much on the internet, you kind of just jump from book to book or things you hear about. And I really like to focus on, I don't even know how many series I'm in the middle of. I couldn't even tell you. I would really love to kind of sit down. Like, I want to make a reading journal. I've never actually done one of those. I've seen them on YouTube where people like do their little like spreads and they keep trackers. I'd love to do something like that, just to be a little bit more of an organized reader. I think that would be fun, and kind of keep track of what I'm in the middle of. So I think prioritizing series and also just keeping track and like finding a fun way to monitor what I'm reading and how much I'm reading. Another thing too is I also really want to prioritize not picking books that I hear about as much. Let me explain. I really want to kind of try to go into books more blind. So I want to go into books I hear less about. So meaning I want to be able to like walk in the bookstore, see a book and that I've never heard of and pick it up. I feel like I'm always drawn to the books I've heard about or I've heard hype about or I already kind of know what's going on, and I always kind of read those books, and I have a great time in it. They're recommended for a reason, but I just think it would be fun to kind of discover your own books, I guess you could say, and like maybe try out different authors that aren't really talked about more, and like more indie authors, and just kind of broaden my taste and my books a little bit, because I feel like I love, like I said, I love reading the same kind of books. Like, they're very comforting, and like the trials and fantasy and the same kind of contemporary romances, but I think it would be really fun to just really broaden that up and try books I've never heard about, or just I walk upon them in the bookstore and I read the back and it sounds really good and I'm like, okay, let's try this. I haven't heard about it. Let's give it a go. Another thing I've also find myself doing a lot is when I'm in the bookstore, I have my phone out and I'm constantly checking Goodreads for every little book I pick up, just because I like to click ratings and reviews. And so I want to stop doing that and just really, really go off of vibes. And like I said, the back of the books, like even the covers, like I just want to kind of pick books differently and try to see if I cannot find like more books that I enjoy. I also want to stop buying as many books. That's like a hard one because I absolutely love collecting books. That is a huge thing that I love to do, and pretty covers, and I love having full series and everything like that. But I want to get better because I have like Kindle Unlimited, there's Libby, I have a ton of books on my TBR, like physical TBR, that I haven't even really read yet. So I'd love to prioritize maybe reading the books I have, if not reading it on Kindle first if it's on Kindle Unlimited, instead of buying it and then just reading on Kindle Unlimited anyways. If I absolutely love a book, I'd love to have that copy of it. Great, I'll do it. But I feel like I find myself buying a lot of books that are on Kindle Unlimited, and then I end up reading them and I don't like them, and now I have this book that I don't really like. So just being less of a consumer, you know, like not falling into that rut and just having more fun with it. I love reading on my Kindle, so I think why not read on it more and then not buy as many physical books. That's kind of my goals going into 2025, and I do want to make a separate video at the beginning of 2025 kind of really focusing on those and kind of setting myself up for success and doing a reading journal and all that stuff. So well, stay tuned for that. Thank you guys so much for watching. This was a fun one. I feel like it got me really thinking about all my books, and I need to kind of like assess this, but I absolutely love these book tag videos. I watch every single one, so I hopefully you liked this one. Let me know if you liked it. Give it a thumbs up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the rest of Bookmas. We only have like 3 more days. We only have 3 more days, guys. We'll see you then.
Like and subscribe.